to It's About Youth with me, Faye Kwan. I'm here at the Pavilion Bukit Jalil Blue Ice Skating Ring, home ground and training ground of the national women's ice hockey team in Malaysia. What's it take to break barriers for one of the coolest sports in the world? Joining me today are two national ice hockey players, Kimberly and Chloe Loh. Thank you so much, both of you, for taking time out of your training session to speak to me today.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure having you on the show. Firstly, I suppose I'm very curious. Ice hockey as itself, I'm sure you've gotten this a lot. Ice hockey isn't exactly the most common sport for Malaysians living with our sunny weather. What drew both of you to ice hockey over the usual sports that we're used to? Badminton, basketball. Was there any specific moment or person that inspired you to start? Kimberly? Yeah.
Well, for me, actually, I started skating at a very young age. I started when I was 6 years old, and I started figure skating at first. So being at the rink quite consistently, I would say, you would train every day. I started to sort of get connected with people in the community, and that's how I got to know about ice hockey.
Right.
So my friends actually were like, oh, you know, you can already skate. Why don't you try playing with a puck? So over time, I got actually quite interested in the sport, and that's how it ignited my passion.
Right, okay. Yeah. That's a very interesting start for you. How about you, Chloe?
Both of my brothers plays ice hockey, so they kind of introduced it to my mom. Then one day my mom came home and was like, since you're not doing anything at home, why not just try out? Then yeah.
Right, so the sport kind of runs in the family then. Do you find it easier that since you have both your brothers are also on the ice, you trade tips with each other at home?
Not really.
It's different, right? Men's and women's hockey. How would you then describe the state of ice hockey in Malaysia today, the commonality of the sport, especially for women?
Yeah. Well, I would say ice hockey today, the landscape is emerging. You know, we see that it's brimming with potential. There are women who want to play, and we just need to give enough support. So I think honestly, if we have sufficient people coming through and being able to participate in more tournaments or learn to skate activities, we will get more and more people participating.
Right. I'd like to touch a little bit on that support. But firstly, you know, ice hockey itself, Malaysia, as a country, we actually advocated for the inclusion of a women's tournament in the SEA Games. And now, you know, we previously didn't have that, even though it was introduced to the SEA Games, I suppose, in 2017, if I'm, correct me if I'm wrong. And now it's finally happening. There is a women's tournament happening in Thailand at the SEA Games in December.
Yeah.
What does this milestone mean for both of you personally and to your team? Chloe?
I think it's a very huge milestone because it's a chance for us to finally showcase our skills on a bigger stage. So yeah, I think the team is very excited about it.
And it's great representation, right? Because as we were speaking off camera just now, we were talking about how ice hockey is a sport that people generally associate only with men, and the interest is with the men's tournament.
That's right.
People don't quite know about the existence of women's teams as well. You know, the men made their debut in 2017 in Malaysia, and Malaysia actually won bronze at the time.
Yep.
Now that it's both of your turn to be on the ice, how are you feeling? How's the mood? Are you excited? Are you nervous?
Personally, I'm really excited. For me, I have not played at the SEA Games, at the level of the SEA Games before. I've only played in the Challenge Cup of Asia level. So for me, this feels like a step up, and I'm really excited to go against teams that we've played against and see how we've fared over the past years and compete.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good way to go into it. How about you, Chloe? How are you feeling about being the first female, being the first female team to represent Malaysia at the SEA Games?
Kind of excited and nervous.
Excited? Yeah. Will you say that's a sentiment among all the team, or are you as a goalie especially the most enthusiastic about it?
I think the team.
The team as well? All of you? And how's preparation going for both of you, both on and off the ice? Because I'm assuming it's not just what people see on the ice. You were speaking about hand-eye coordination, and it's all not just practices and scrimmages on the ice, right? How about what goes on? outside of the rink?
So currently, because our on-ice sessions are only once weekly, but we're looking to increase that frequency in the coming months, so we'll be doing more on-ice sessions. But separately, because the range of players who participate in ice hockey, especially for the women's, is quite wide. We have players who are in school, you're 16, and then we have players who are adults in the 30s and 40s, and they have a different sort of schedule and working arrangements. So we've actually been encouraged to do personal training, to join classes, and basically to take on this other portion of training independently so that we can support our training on ice, make sure that we have the strength, we have the conditioning, and we are in good shape.
Right. Yeah. And how about you, Chloe? How's the preparation for you? I mean, how's your preparations for the SEA Games, both on and off the ice? Because it's not just practice and scrimmages here that people see, right? Or is there anything you're doing outside, extra sports, physio, that you're taking part of to make sure you're in good shape? Okay. Right, so there is a lot that goes on off the ice. I'm sure training, there's tournament fees, physiotherapy, buying your gear, keeping your gear up to date. It's a huge investment of time, money and effort, and that's combined with a team that ranges in ages. People are balancing school, their family, work. What would both of you say is some of the biggest challenges that your team is facing? Chloe?
I think right now it's the limited financial resources. I guess it's like impacting our access to like training facilities and like ice time.
Right. Is that limited resources that's like that the team is trying to raise, or is it individually it's tough for you to access like gear in the sport itself?
I think both as individuals and as a team.
And how about you, Kimberly?
Yeah, I actually would like to echo the funding scarcity because logistically, when you think about it, we have the ice rinks now, but that doesn't mean that it's accessible to get the ice rink rental times. So for example, you might be renting the ice rink for north of over 1,000 ringgit per hour.
Wow.
Generally about say 900 to 1,005, give or take. And so if you don't have the numbers, or if you need more people to contribute, that becomes very expensive. You're looking at 80 ringgit per hour for training compared to like badminton or pickle nowadays, which is maybe
10 ringgit?
10 ringgit, 20
Yeah.
ringgit. So an 8x increase on a weekly or bi-weekly basis is quite a lot. So that's one of the challenges that we face. I think the other thing would also be visibility. So without visibility, we can't raise awareness, and we can't then have more people involved in the sport, which ultimately can bring the cost down. So those are the areas that I think we really need to work on.
And it's not something a lot of people know, the price to rent a skating rink, and that eventually will also impact the amount of times you get to access the rink,
That's
how
right.
often you practice weekly. But Kimberly, you also have experience as a referee. We were speaking about this earlier as well. How would you say that gives you a different perspective as a player?
Well, I think as a referee, I've been very fortunate to participate in many tournaments internationally. And most recently, that would be at the Asian Winter Games in Harbin, China. And so what that affords me is the ability to see these players and these teams at a higher level than we are. We're talking teams like Japan, teams like Korea, and seeing how they perform, the type of respect they have for the game, it's very different. And so when I see how they approach the game, what I take with me is the way that they play and also how they adapt based on the knowledge and the updating of rules that have come through. So for example, as a referee, every year we have to update our knowledge on the rules. There are always these minor changes, and it actually gives me quite a very good distinctive advantage, I think, on ice. Being able to have that little bit of information in my back pocket. Yeah.
So are there any lessons that you've observed from other countries that you've brought back to apply to our national team?
I think that maybe is not so much for me to apply in that way. I sort of defer that or leave that to the coach to decide. But what I do bring back, I think, is more leadership and cohesiveness, I hope. I think if I can demonstrate that I am putting in the effort, that hopefully then others will also do the same. Yeah.
recent years as well, figure skating and also hopefully ice hockey is gaining a bit more traction in Malaysia. People are more interested in tuning into winter games as well. How do you think we can kind of keep that energy, keep that momentum going to encourage more people, especially girls, to take up winter sports? Chloe, would you like to add to this?
Well, I think social media is really commonly used these days, so I think raising awareness around the media is a factor, and maybe also like encouraging schools to incorporate like these like winter sports to boost like participation around like youth.
Okay, yeah, that's actually a really good point to kind of incorporate that into our education syllabus, and in that sense it's an equal level playing field for everyone to gain access to the sport. How about you, Kimberly?
For me, I think to add on to those 2 points would be like accessibility and also a safe and fun environment. So when I say accessibility, I think it is sort of maybe collaborating with the rink operators and saying, hey, maybe you can create programs that invite people to come at a more affordable rate. At least we give them a taste of what it's like to skate, to play ice hockey, and to learn. And then on the other part, in terms of fostering a safe, creative, and fun environment, I think that's really key. Having been in sports for over 20 years, it's something that's a core to me. I feel like when I improve, when I meet a goal, when I land an element or a jump, or I score a goal, there is a rush. And that's something you can't replicate outside. I think you have to be like competitive, you have to enjoy sport, and it's something that I think people can really benefit from, especially the youth.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into it as well, in terms of both your personal and professional development.
Definitely.
But then, you spoke about the challenges about funding and access to ice skating rinks. What kind of support then would you like to see to kind of help more aspiring athletes like yourselves in these kind of winter sports? Kimberly, you want to start first?
Sure. I think the core theme that we really centralize on is really financial support. And I think that can't be understated. So I have spoken to some friends. They're in the men's team and the women's team, and they want to pursue ice hockey as a full-time career. But it really comes down to, is there a way or pathway for them to get a livable wage that will enable them to pursue this full-time? And so I think if there is that kind of support, be it from organizations, corporates, government even, that can hone these players and give them this opportunity, then I think we will really get somewhere. And I think that helps.
It's a community effort, right? That's coming from the players yourselves, from the ice skating, the rink manager to kind of promote these programs for visibility, and then trickling down to lawmakers. How about you, Chloe? Is there any kind of particular support that you'd like to see for your team as you guys continue to work towards representing the country? Maybe facilities, or maybe funding or exposure?
Yeah, I think funding and facilities.
Funding and facilities, that's the topic that we really keep coming back to, right? And also the fact that I think it's what we were also speaking earlier off camera was the fact that our ice skating rinks are a lot smaller than what you play in international stage. What's that like for you with your training? Is it a challenge, especially when you go for international tournaments? Chloe?
I think that for me as a goalie, the time to react is like here is much more like shorter compared to like a bigger ice rink.
So would you say you have an advantage then over here because your reflexes are a little faster with a smaller ring?
I guess.
And how about you, Kimberly? Is it a stamina game when it comes to international games?
Yes, 100% stamina. I think what we often see is the difference in pace, but also in the time of each period. So for context, when we play in the league, we play 3 periods of 17 minutes running time. And so this gives people the opportunity to take a breather and start again. Whereas overseas in the international tournaments, it's 20 minutes per period and it's stop time. So every time the puck stops, every time there's a goal or a face-off, time is stopping and standing still. So definitely the stamina element is really big, and oftentimes that's where the teams get tired. So if you play 5 games over 5-6 days, it's very easy to see where you would stand. So that's something we have to work on for sure.
And that's very strenuous on the body as well.
Yeah.
So then besides the SEA Games, which I'm sure everyone is looking forward to, and hopefully to see both of you there, but besides the SEA Games, what's next for the women's ice hockey team? Are there any other big tournaments or big goals on the horizon?
So I think actually in 2 years there will be the SEA Games held in Malaysia, and so that would probably be the next big goal. The team is actually, I think Chloe's actually flying off to Abu Dhabi in 4 weeks, I would say, about there, to participate in the national team in a tournament as well. So that's the sort of first leg before the SEA Games. And until then, I think the team just has to improve and hopefully, have a very good showing in 2027.
Yeah. There's still time for you to prepare. A lot more tournaments to take part in.
That's right. Yeah.
And I guess before we close off with the show, if there's one thing the both of you would want Malaysians to understand a little bit more about women's ice hockey, what would it be, Chloe? One thing you wish people watching this would want to take away from the interview?
Fun.
Fun. That ice hockey is fun to play and that they shouldn't be intimidated by it. Yeah. And you, Kimberly?
I think that's a good question. I have to think about this a little bit. I think it depends, right? Like if it's the youth, I really hope that they look at this sport and give it consideration, because we have a lot of people playing pickle and a lot of people playing badminton.
Oh yeah, and that's picked up really rapidly in the past year, pickleball especially.
It has really picked up, and I think with ice hockey we're quite unique because you have to be on ice and it's a different environment, so I just really hope that they see it as something different and try to pursue it. And for those who are older than youth, just to come and support. Yes, anyone, just come and support and maybe tell their friends and family.
Yeah. Who knows, someone in the family might be interested to join or give it a try on ice. Thank you so much to both of you for sharing your insights and taking time off practice to speak to me. I've been speaking to Kimberly Wan and Chloe Loh from the women's ice hockey team. This has been It's About Youth with me, Fei Kwan. Thank you for watching and good night.